George Saunders, the novelist, came to Rutgers to talk about Lincoln in the Bardo and creative writing and all that. And Patrick's question about comedy was so interesting because we're in this moment where no matter where you are in politics or public figures, it's absurd. And I guess if you could talk a bit more about what it is for the stories you want to tell or the jokes you want to make, where it's can you be empathetic as a comic and make jokes that, maybe that good old Catholic guilt as a child is oh no, don't laugh at that kind of thing. Where's the line, if there is a line?
Yeah. Sure, great question. I'm going to quickly add an addendum to Jessica's last question, which was the writers of Hearts Beat Loud are sitting here, Brett Haley and Mark Bash. Let's
hey
give
guys.
them a round of applause. And
Nice. Awesome.
one thing I find when unpacking a role in any medium is I'm not going to show up and do it if I don't think the script is great.
Yeah.
And if the script is great, they've done so much of the work where I don't have to, I read a scene and I'm like, oh, I know what to do. I don't have to think,
How can I polish this
who
turd?
should I base this on? Al Bundy? I don't know, fuck.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, or Ted. That's most roles for me, rapist or plumber.
Yeah. That's your book title.
To answer your question, and this script answered all those questions because they're great at writing. To answer your question, it's complicated. At the end of my second book, which is called Gumption, it's a profile of 21 great Americans that I admire, from George Washington to Conan O'Brien. And Conan is the last chapter, and it's surprisingly full of wisdom and empathy. Of course, it's hilarious, but he's the smartest goddamn guy.
Yeah.
And so I think he's so smart that it might be a little painful, and that's why he's so funny, to mask, I'm too intelligent and it hurts. But he said something where he said, every generation, we come to that adult age where we're like, this is the worst it's ever been. The kids are worthless. They're all on their things. The things used to be so much better when we were the idiot kids listening to Duran Duran. That was the golden age. But he said, if you just take a step back and look at history, it's always been a shit show. It's always been a bunch of humans trying to agree on the distribution of apples. And at some point you're gonna be like, fuck you, my kid needs apples. I have a weapon, I will kill you. And here we are. And so I certainly can't wrap my head around all of it, but I gravitate to voices like George Saunders or our great humorists, are the people that are intelligent, the people that are doing all the homework.
Yeah.
That's something I love about Twitter, is that I follow a few journalists that sort of filter the news of the day into cogent takes, where it's like, okay, here's what he lied about today. He lied about the other guy lying about his lies. And that's how I can try and keep score. But it's pretty organic. I take in as much as I can consume and then look at the opportunities available to me to then regurgitate. My work is very seldom apples to apples. I'm not a journalist. Even my nonfiction books are not incredible works of research. They're minor works of research rendered through humor. So it's like, let me tell you about Frederick Douglass. He's pretty amazing, and here's a bunch of facts, but also here's some lighthearted looks at how we still have a long way to go in providing reparations for slavery, or whatever the topic is. So that's, I chased down George Saunders for that book. He's a chapter in that book.
Yeah, you led the charge for that.
And we became buddies. He's a crazily sweet, down-to-earth guy from the south side of Chicago. And we just immediately were like, oh, we're a couple dipshits who happen to have found a good place for our voices. And so Megan and I got the rights. So we're making a movie of Lincoln in the Bardo, which is super exciting and scary for us. But
Great.
And so that's where the answer to your question lies. Is like, if I can get my hands on George, or when scripts are coming into me, something has to speak to me where they're somehow helping us evolve. Sometimes there's a really funny script, but they'll just have one homophobic joke or one misogynist story moment, not in a good way, that I'm like, this.
Yeah.
If this is where your head is,
It ruins
and
it.
this script got to me, then I don't want to work with you because you're keeping us in the past.
Yeah.